Welcome to the University of Kentucky's Backyard Streams program. During this webinar, we will learn about stormwater, how stormwater is polluted, and how changes in stormwater quantity and quality impact streams. Urban BMPs, or best management practices, are designed to reduce the impacts of stormwater quantity and quality on receiving waters. So what is stormwater? Stormwater is excess water from precipitation events, such as rainfall and snowmelts, that flows over the ground and does not infiltrate into the soil. Essentially, stormwater is runoff. Pervious surfaces are those that allow water to infiltrate into the underlying soil. Impervious surfaces are those that do not allow water to infiltrate. In other words, water cannot pass through these surfaces. Examples of pervious surfaces are lawns, pastures, rain gardens, and permeable pavement. While precipitation can infiltrate into the soil's underlying pervious surfaces, the rate at which water infiltrates is controlled by soil texture and compaction. Soil texture refers to the type and size of particles that make up the soil. A soil's textural classification is based upon the proportion of sand, silt, and clay. Sand particles are relatively large in size, with big spaces between the particles. Clay particles, on the other hand, are relatively small in size, with small spaces between the particles. Soils with a high percentage of sand allow water to infiltrate much faster than soils with a high percentage of clay. Compaction is another key factor that affects infiltration rates. Compaction occurs when soil particles are pushed more closely together, thus shrinking the openings between particles. Compaction occurs when heavy equipment or vehicles are driven over soil. It also occurs when people walk over an area repeatedly, such as with trails and parks. Soils that are heavily compacted allow less water to infiltrate as compared to soils that are not compacted. In Lexington, Kentucky, we receive on average 46 inches of rainfall per year. For a 1 square foot area of impervious surface, 46 inches of rainfall generates about 29 gallons of runoff. A 1,000 square foot area, such as concrete or asphalt, will produce about 29,000 gallons of runoff per year. To put this in more easily understandable terms, let's equate this volume of runoff to a bath. For a bathtub that can hold 50 gallons of water, about 29,000 gallons of runoff is equivalent to just under 600 baths. In other words, I could take a bath every night for over 1.5 years and the runoff produced from this example driveway. That's a lot of runoff. And this runoff is only from one example driveway. Now imagine all the other driveways, parking lots, roads, buildings, in other words, all the impervious surfaces that are in Lexington, and imagine all the runoff that is generated. Think of rainfall on the land as a shower in your home. As rain falls from the sky and onto the land, it runs downhill towards streams, which are the low points. Along the way, this runoff picks up trash, debris, and other pollutants that are deposited on the land. This is much the same as water from your shower picking up the day's dirt and flowing it down towards the drain. In a similar manner, pollutants deposited on the land are carried to our streams. Many of these pollutants we are familiar with, such as pathogens, nutrients, sediment, and heavy metals, but others we don't think about so much. Take thermal pollution, for instance. During the summer months, rain that falls on hot parking lots carries with it heat to streams. This hot water will lower the dissolved oxygen levels in the water. In monitoring the Cane Run watershed, I have seen temperatures of streams increase by several degrees following a summer shower. Pollution is any constituent deemed in excess to what the environment can tolerate. Pollution comes from a number of sources. Nutrients often come from the over-application of fertilizers, malfunctioning septic or sanitary sewer systems, animal waste, yard waste, and even atmospheric deposition. Pathogens most often come from malfunctioning sanitary sewer systems in urban areas, but animal waste from pets and wildlife are another common source. Sediments are associated with bare soils common with residential and commercial construction sites. Automobiles and manufacturing contribute heavy metals and hydrocarbons, while pesticides are often associated with residential lawns and agricultural operations. Different types of land use impact stormwater and streams differently. Lexington has both urban and agricultural areas. The greater percentage of impervious surfaces in urbanized areas means more runoff is generated, thus increasing the likelihood of flooding. Changes in land use also impact the quality of stormwater. In urban areas, we see higher levels of pathogens from sources such as leaking sanitary sewers and pet waste. Cars and trucks can leak oil and can rust, leaving behind metals. Construction sites and bare soil, if not properly managed, add sediment to our waterways. Agricultural operations can negatively impact water quality through increased pathogens, nutrients, and sediment loading to streams. Another negative impact of urbanization that we often do not think about is trash or solid waste. Trash does not have to be thrown out directly into a stream to end up there. Trash can flow to a stream from a parking lot, from streets, all via the storm sewer system. The storm sewer system carries runoff and any trash and pollutants in it to receiving streams or lakes via a series of underground pipes. Unless properly managed, changes in land use can negatively impact our ability to enjoy and utilize streams, whether the cause is poor water quality, unstable banks, or just poor aesthetics. Pollutants have a negative effect on streams. High levels of nutrients and temperatures promote bacterial growth and algal blooms, as seen in the photo on the left. Excess water results in higher shear stresses in our streams, meaning the bed and banks erode. Stream bed and bank erosion combined with other sediment inputs from watersheds reduce in-stream habitat quality, as seen in the center picture. High pathogen loads can create health hazards and result in the placement of signs, such as the one on the right, which warns people to stay out of the stream because it may contain raw sewage. As previously mentioned, urbanization or an increase in impervious area negatively affects streams by increasing the amount of water that becomes runoff. Before urbanization, when a site is a grass or forest land, about 50% of the rainfall infiltrates into the soil and about 40% evapotranspires back into the atmosphere. Only about 10% becomes runoff. As the land is developed, the amount of rainfall that infiltrates and evapotranspires decreases, while the amount that becomes runoff increases. Soils are compacted and covered with impervious surfaces. Vegetation is removed. Increasing the percentage of impervious area from 0% to 10 to 20%, which is about the equivalent of a residential neighborhood with half-acre lots, results in a 10% increase in runoff. Further increasing neighborhood density up to 1/8 acre lots increases the percentage of impervious surface to 35 to 50%. Runoff is then increased by 10% or more, even up to 30%. At 75 to 100% impervious area, which is like portions of downtown Lexington, about 55% of the rainfall becomes runoff. In essence, as the amount of impervious surface in a watershed increases, infiltration and evapotranspiration decrease while runoff increases. And this increase in runoff can be substantial. Another reason urban areas are so impacting to streams is the speed at which our storm sewer system moves water. Storm sewers are a series of gutters, curb inlets, pipes, and the like, which are designed to quickly route stormwater to receiving streams. Storm sewer systems do not address water quality, except in rare instances, and as such they quickly transport pollutants to the water as well. Streams draining urban lands consistently suffer from urban stream syndrome, a condition characterized by flashy hydrology, elevated concentrations of nutrients and contaminants, altered morphology, decreased amounts of organic matter, and poor biotic richness. The volume and speed at which stormwater runoff reaches streams is impactful. The photo on the left shows an urban stream that has experienced a large amount of stream bank erosion, as evidenced by the freestanding pole. The stream in the center photo is confined by development on both the left and right banks. Floodplain access is minimal, meaning all the forces exerted by the water remain in the channel, where they erode the bed and banks. If the stream had good floodplain access, it could dissipate energy, thereby reducing the ability of the water to erode. Riparian vegetation consists only of short grasses that offer little in the way of stream bank stabilization, carbon inputs, or temperature modification. The biotic health of urban streams is reduced due to the flashy hydrology, which scours channels, but also because of higher pollutant loads, results in poorer water quality. One way to better understand the impact of urbanization on streams is by examining pre- and post-development hydrographs. Hydrographs display the relationship between discharge and time. Hydrographs provide a wealth of information on how water flows through a stream during a storm event. Hydrographs are useful for understanding characteristics such as volume of water, peak flow, duration of storms, the time required to reach peak flow, and the time required for rainfall to become runoff. In this figure, the pre-development hydrograph is in green and the post-development hydrograph is in red. The post-development hydrograph has a much taller peak that occurs sooner than the pre-development hydrograph. Hence, development resulted in a larger peak flow and shorter time to peak. In other words, development changed the way runoff reached the stream. Development also changed how much water reached the stream. The area under the curve represents runoff volume. The post-development area is larger than the pre-development one. Hence, the larger volume of runoff reached the stream more quickly after the land was developed. Development also causes a change in base flow. Base flow is the portion of stream flow that is not associated with the storm. Without base flow, streams will be dry. The pre- and post-development hydrographs differ in base flow or where the flow is at when the hydrographs start and end. With less infiltration, base flow is not replenished as much as it was prior to development, meaning less water is coming to the stream from groundwater sources during non-storm events. When the hydrograph changes due to development, the stream also changes. A stable pre-development stream, as shown in the top figure, will become deeper and wider when the watershed is developed. Also know that the water table falls as the stream becomes in size, meaning the stream bed is lowered. Since the water table is now further from the ground surface, the vegetation community also changes due to changes in hydrology, although other influences from humans, such as vegetation removal, are at work. Knowing that urbanization or an increase in impervious surfaces negatively impacts streams, at what level do we expect to see the impacts? The answer is, it depends. The effect of urbanization on stream morphology depends in part on the soils and vegetation along a stream, as well as the ability of the stream to access its floodplain. The changes to biotic communities can occur before significant geomorphic changes are noted due to changes in water quality. Research suggests that a stream's biologic integrity or quality will show signs of impact when 10 to 15% of the watershed is impervious. In some cases, changes occur at 5% imperviousness. As the percentage of impervious surface increases, the level impact increases as well. At more than 30% imperviousness, most streams are highly impacted. Thank you for completing this webinar on stormwater. To learn more about stormwater, check out the publications and additional information sections. For additional information on backyard streams, visit www.untitled.org. www.uky.edu/BAE/backyard streams.